All right, good morning. Let's talk about the Circuit of the Americas for the NASCAR Cup Series. Hopefully, you guys had a good Truck Series and Xfinity Series race. I know some track limits shifted things up quite a bit, and we'll probably hear that a little bit more about today's slate. So we will chat about that, and hopefully, you guys have been enjoying watching March Madness as well. That's been fun for me. So let's look at it here. If you want to, help us out, how can you do that? Liking, commenting, sharing, retweeting our content, subscribing to this channel if you tune into these videos and aren't subscribed. If you're interested in looking at the spreadsheet, sometimes we'll adjust things as more news comes out before the slate locks, or maybe you just want to look at it as you're building lines. More than welcome to do that over on X. It's at Fast Cars FM. And then finally, if we're helping you out in any way, you're having a good weekend, you want to say thanks, sending us a couple dollars, $2, $3 here or there really is appreciated. So let's look at the race preview and initial thoughts. So kind of the opposite from Bristol. When we had Bristol, we had 500 laps. Once you get to Cota, you only have 68 laps. Um, so quite a difference in the amount of points that you're able to score today with a limited number of laps. So with a limited number of laps, we don't really want to focus, put a lot of emphasis on trying to nail the lap leader or trying to get the dominator into our line. Now, yes, if we can get them in our line, it's going to help because normally, if you're going to be a main lap leader in this race, typically you either win the race or you finish well. But what we normally see is drivers that score well are drivers that give us place differential upside and finishing upside. So just because you start in the back and look like you give a lot of place differential upside doesn't always necessarily mean that's the case, especially on road courses. So it's not necessarily a stack the back, type of mentality. But we'll go through the driver by driver breakdown. Um, at this course, in certain areas, they enforce track limits. They're trying to keep the drivers, on certain portions of the track, not letting them cut corners. We're going to hear about track limits a lot today. Unfortunately, it's going to be just tough to predict who might be affected by this. But they're going to, have to serve some penalties, go towards the tail end of the field, pass through penalties, things of that nature. We saw that happen with Shane Van Gisbergen yesterday, and he got kicked back to a 28th place finishing position instead of finishing second, or I think he was going to finish second. So the other thing, we still have stage breaks in. They brought breaks back for road courses, so you're going to see a mix of going for the win versus going for the stage win. Strategies. People pitting before the end of the stage to give them the track position. But what are we really focusing on? For me, I'm really just focused on the 2023, road course performance. So first and foremost, I think what you can say is you don't necessarily need to pay up, for the expensive range. It's not, oh, I need to get two of these guys or at least one of these guys in my line. The way that DraftKings is priced and the way that the field is distributed here, the starting grid and who's priced where, I don't think you necessarily need an expensive driver. No, you certainly can. And I'm gonna have some lines with expensive drivers, but you can build a pretty balanced line where you're not really even having to dip down, much, lower on the slate. You don't even really have to touch the 6K range if you want to. So let's look at it here. So you got Reddick, Elliott, Larson, and Bell. I'll say Reddick has been the best road course driver in the next gen era. You're playing Reddick on this track because you imagine that he's going to be an early lap, or he's going to be the main lap leader. He's going to win this race. He's going to finish well in this race. We've seen him do that many, many times on these road courses. He looks like he has a fast car. Again, he has the track position to do that. Who else has been pretty good on road courses? It's been Chase Elliott. Now, Chase Elliott hasn't been as good in the next gen era as he was in the Gen 6 era on road courses, but his numbers are still statistically really strong. And he's still arguably, one of the best in the field. He gives you a little bit more place differential upside than Reddick. Again, I don't think you need any of these drivers in your line, but I think they're going to do really well. Now, Larson gives you the most place differential upside of these drivers. His data on the road courses last year wasn't as strong as Reddick, Elliott's, and Bell's. However, he gives you the most place differential upside. Um, the argument against Kyle Larson is there's other, cheaper place differential plays that you can plug into your line that have similar upside. And then Christopher Bell and Martin Truex, these are more tournament plays, for me. I think they're fine. I think you could make an argument that they might be similar. Truex could be similar to Elliott, where he gives you maybe a little bit of place differential upside. Maybe Truex hangs around where he, starts and still gets a top 10 finish. The problem with Bell and Truex, if they aren't going to be the main lap leader, like they could still score well, but they could potentially get outscored from place differential plays coming through and also finishing, inside the top 10 with a limited number of laps. Like, I think there's less than 50 points of dominator points available. So, leading laps, getting fast laps. I mean, it certainly is going to help if you have that in your line, but it's not a focus for us. William Byron there, he looks like he has, William Byron and Ty Gibbs look like they have the two fastest cars this weekend. Their practice times were separated, barely. I mean, they basically ran the same lap time and they both backed it up in qualifying. I mean, they start 1-2. So, if you're looking for a lap leader to build around, I think plugging in a William Byron and or a Ty Gibbs is probably the way to go. My third favorite lap leader is going to be Reddick just because of how strong he's been. So you could also make the argument, hey, I'm going to play a single lap leader line, whether that's a Byron Gibbs or a Reddick, and then build around them with place differential. I have some of my lines that look like that. You could also make the argument that, hey, maybe I'll play two of those guys together, or maybe all of them together. The only negative and downside of that is, you don't really get any place differential from these plays. So you're playing them because you think they can win the race, they can stay up front, still finish inside the top 10, ideally, even higher. But really like Byron, really like Gibbs for those reasons. Shane Van Gisbergen gives you a lot of place differential upside. Might not necessarily have the car to win the race, but this is his strength. He likes road course racing. He got some extra lap time, on the track that is. Yesterday in the Xfinity Series race, he might not be a lap leader, but I can easily see him finishing inside the top 10, and he gives you some place differential upside. I really like Kyle Busch today. Kyle Busch finished top three in three of the five road course races that we had in 2023, with an average finish of 11th, across those races. So he gives us a lot of place differential upside, a lot of finishing upside as well if he's able to continue that trend starting 16th. And I think more people, might be chasing some other plays that are kind of known to be quote unquote better road course racers. So I like Kyle Busch a lot for, cash games and tournaments as hopefully a nice leverage play. Chastain's fine. He's kind of in the same boat as Truex and Bell. They start at the front, they have a chance to finish at the front. I don't know if they have the car to be the lap leader to kind of gain those additional points. And with me projecting some of these place differential plays coming through, I think he could score well. I just think he has it's going to be hard for him not to get outscored from some others. Really like AJ Allmendinger. He's another driver with great value for his price. You can really build a lot of these 8K, 7K, even some 9K drivers into your line and really build a pretty strong balanced lineup. He finished top 10 in three of the five road courses last year. Two of them were top fives and even got a win in doing that. So, like him, I also already kind of talked about Ty Gibbs. I think he's going to be a great lap leading option today. He could go out there and win the race. So I like Gibbs and Byron, but I don't think you need either of them anyways. Like they could go out there, be the lap leader, win the race. But if those place differential plays, kind of come through, like there's a chance that maybe they still get, outscored. I'm not really getting to Suarez or Hamlin. Suarez has been okay on the road courses. Like he had that one road course where he won and that kind of, elevated him. A lot of people started gravitating towards playing him. But his other road courses haven't been great. I mean, they've been okay. Denny Hamlin isn't necessarily known to be a road course racer, especially in the next gen era. Now we have seen Toyota and take a jump. We saw them improve over 2023, and he starts for $8,200 getting Denny Hamlin in your line. I think is pretty good. The problem is there's just so many other plays around him that offer more place differential upside that I think also can finish towards the front top 10, half of the field. So that's kind of why I'm just not really interested too much in Hamlin there. Michael McDowell and Chris Buescher, I like both these plays a lot. Both of them have been extremely good in the next gen era on road courses. Both of them give us a lot of place differential upside without starting too deep, in the field where they might just get kind of stuck back there. We've seen them excel. We've seen them win on, road courses, get top 10 finishes. So I really like McDowell and Busher today. Those are probably going to be two core plays I'm going to have a lot in my lineups. I like Alex Bowman a lot too. Who's third overall, fastest in lap practice. He gives us some good place differential upside and finishing upside. And I don't know how many people are really going to play him. I think people are going to see McDowell, Busher, Blaney, Logano around him. So that might put his ownership down. But Bowman's been, pretty decent on the road courses. So I don't mind him at all. Blaney has struggled on the road courses. You can see that with his price. Now, yes, Joey Logano has kind of struggled on the road courses as well. Um, However, if you look at Joey Logano's numbers in 5 road course races in 2023, he finished in the top 10, three of those 5 times. And in those races, he had an average running position of 13th with an average finishing position of 16th. So if he's able to just continue that trend, maintain that type of average, he's going to score extremely well. I don't mind Blaney either, but, you know, I just. I just don't know. His numbers aren't as strong as Logano's. So I'd much rather maybe envisioning Blaney's going to get some ownership. I'd much rather play McDowell, Busher, Bowman, or Logano before I get to Blaney. But I'm still going to have Blaney in some lines. Cindric's been okay. He has a ton of road course experience. He was a lot better at it in the Xfinity series. He's more of a GPP play. Chase Briscoe, we've seen him be good on road courses. We've seen him not be good on road courses. Don't necessarily know what type of car he has this weekend. Kobayashi starts 25th. He was 8th in single lap practice, which was encouraging. He doesn't have a ton of experience in the next gen era, at least with NASCAR, that is. He's okay, but he's not like a target. I don't mind Keselowski either. I don't necessarily think you have to come down, this low on the slate, depending on the lineup construction that you're building. But I'm okay with playing Keselowski. I'd much rather play Logano over Keselowski. He didn't perform great on the road courses last year. He has an average finish around 20th, so not as good as Logano. But if he's able to repeat that type of performance, get inside the top 20, give you 16 plus points with place differential, he's going to score, decently well. Eric Jones might draw some ownership starting 38th. He's just been slow. So, I think his average running position, his average running position on road course is 27. So he starts deep, most likely finishes deep. Bubba Wallace is probably better left for GPPs. I don't really like too many of these plays down here. If you're going to pay all the way down here, you might as well just get some place differential safety. Bubba Wallace isn't really known to be a road course racer. Gregson starts DFL, can't lose you any points. He posted the 23rd quickest time in practice, so he should be able to get forward, move forward, earn you some place differential points. Very similar to Brad Keselowski. Like if they can get up front, finish inside the top 20 for that price and the value that you get for where they start, that'll work out for us. Not really getting to Austin Dillon or Carson Hocevar. Wouldn't surprise me if Hocevar, runs well, but he didn't show that much speed in practice, and I think there's just other plays. I don't necessarily think you have to get aggressive per se, this cheap on the slate. Todd Gilliland's a little bit more of a GPP play. He's pretty good on the road courses. His 5 lap average in practice ranked inside the top 10. The argument against that is not everyone ran a 5 lap, average, but he gives you some place differential upside there. And then really from there, like I don't really want to go, maybe depending on how crazy your lineup is getting, like maybe you could play Stenhouse. He had an average finish of 18th on road courses and last year average running position of 22nd. So he seems like the best option down here, but really, John Hunter Nemechek, Josh Berry, Justin Haley, Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece, Stenhouse, Zane Smith, Kaz Gralla, Hemrick, Burton, and Timmy Hill. Like most of my lines don't go down this far, or if I am going down this far, I'm just playing Stenhouse because I think he gives you the most upside. I think he's the safest. Um, so hopefully that's helpful. It should be an interesting race. Again, for me, I have lines that focus on a sole lap leader and then building around them with place differential plays. I have only place differential plays in my lines, not really attacking a lap leader. And then I have kind of combinations of the both of, hey, I'm really just trying to get 6 drivers in my line that I think have the ability to finish inside the top 10, regardless of where they start. So those are kind of the 3 different approaches I guess I have when I look at the different lines that I've entered so far. Might enter some more. But hopefully that's helpful. Enjoy the race today. Best of luck, and we'll catch you next weekend.